This is 5 Minute Feng Shui Podcast episode 135, Feng Shui and Personal Energy Traps Part 2, Solutions. Welcome to the 5 Minute Feng Shui Podcast, where each week I talk about how to move energy and make money. You'll learn how to create a prosperous home and an abundant life using classical Chinese Feng Shui. I'm your host, Katie Weber, publisher of the Red Lotus Letter, Feng Shui Easing for Wealth. Each week, I'll cover Feng Shui topics that can help you improve your life, share inspiring stories, and always end with 3 easy-to-implement Feng Shui tips that you can put to work right away, and usually in about 5 minutes. Now let's get started on the 5 minutes that could change your life. Hello, we are talking today about Feng Shui and your personal energy traps. And this week we're talking about solutions. Last week we talked about some of the common traps like despair, desperation, worrying, the complaining trap, all these kinds of traps that keep us stuck. And we talked about how worrying can seem like you're doing something, but you're not actually doing anything. You're just worrying and thinking about it. That doesn't really account for taking action and making strides in your efforts to overcome whatever situation it is. And we also talked about how loving your problems can also become a trap. We can use them and use them as a way to front. And we can front and hide behind our energy traps of our problems by blaming our problem. Well, I can't do such and such because, I have to do this for the kids. Or I can't do such and such because, I just don't have any support. And it's a way of hiding. And we can hide behind those things that we use to put up as excuses for not taking action. And we know inside ourselves when we're doing that, we know that. The point of this chi trap exercise, I want to impress upon you that, we all do this. And I tried to leave you with a story last time about how I had done that. I frankly, we were getting ready to move, and I've moved enough. To tell the truth, I've moved enough. And I didn't want to move anymore, even though we were committed, we were doing it, we put the house up for sale, we were going to take this big step. And I just didn't want to do it. And I was dragging my feet. And maybe the reason I was dragging my feet was because, I didn't really want to do it. I didn't want to do the move. I wanted it all to be over with without the whole moving process. You know what I'm talking about? And unfortunately, I find myself occasionally coming up to a situation that I want something to happen, but the process that it's going to take to get to that thing is not what I want to do. It's, we all have it, and I'm going to admit it. I'm going to step up and take a bow, because I really believe that most problems are universal ones. We all have them. We all do them. And though I talk about them and I share with you freely some of my own doubts and my own failings and things that I know better about, I do usually take those steps, but it happens for me too. And sometimes it just happens automatically. You don't even know you're doing it. So, if that's you, take yourself off the hook. But once you figure out, okay, I'm doing this, I'm avoiding this, I'm complaining, I'm loving that problem a little bit too much, maybe I'm hiding or using it as my crutch or as the thing that I put out in front of everybody about why I can't do this because, I have to take care of this, my pet, or I've got to do such and such for my husband, or whatever it is, whatever reason you hide behind. We all need to just step out and take action, right? So let's talk about that. And let's talk about how keeping those chi traps going just keep you trapped. And if you really want to break out from a situation, then you have to recognize what those traps are, right? And then we've got to work on overcoming those. Now, one of the traps that we might be stuck in, the energy trap, is the whole pandemic. And I've given everybody a big, big pass, and myself included. And I want you to know that I just don't sit around and beat myself up if I'm not doing something. Sometimes I look at those energy traps and I think, okay, all right, what am I doing? Am I complaining? Am I making an excuse? That kind of thing. And I think about, maybe I just need a little extra time. Maybe I need to pull back a little bit or hold off from doing something. Maybe I just don't have that energy. And my big belief is, and what I've seen to be true in my life has been, when you're not sure about something, do nothing. It's better to do nothing and wait until you have that feeling. But sometimes you have the feeling you need to do, and that's really what we're going to be talking about with the chi traps. So if you are struggling because of the pandemic, make sure you take care of yourself, baby yourself. Take care of yourself like you would a good friend. One of the things I love to do is take a walk. Love to take walks in the morning. I love to garden. I like to take time just to, flip through my iPad and go through decorating websites. I like to clean. I actually love to clean. It makes me feel good. But this is, I just want you to balance out what I'm talking about with what you're going through. So balance it out. Is it you're just physically tired and emotionally drained? But even if you are, we still have to find ways to take care of ourselves, and we still have to find ourselves a way to keep moving forward. And that's really what I want to talk about today. So when life is frustrating and it seems like we can't get out of that pattern of frustrations and problems, the energy that we need to change in our life is our personal energy. We need to honor our energy too, like with the pandemic, like what I'm talking about, where we spend time doing what pleases us and what fulfills us. But, while Feng Shui has an amazing ability to provide the opportunity and shifts in your life when you work with it, if you're stuck in a personal energy trap, you may find that when opportunities do come along, maybe you let them go by. Maybe you don't follow up on them, or you don't take full advantage of what is being presented to you. And this is why it's so important to look at both your personal energy as well as the energy in your home in Feng Shui. Now, when you have competing energy, like a lack of harmony, and harmony is the basis of Feng Shui, when we harmonize your mind, personal actions, and your efforts as well with the Feng Shui in your home, you multiply that chi and the energy that creates real shifts in your life. And that's what we're talking about, is how do we shift out of this sort of two steps forward, one step back kind of energy, or just into the chi trap, like fear or worrying and complaining. Now, those are the kinds of energy or personal chi traps that keep you stuck even as you work on that Feng Shui in your home and you wonder why it isn't working. This is what's so important, is that when you break free from those traps and that you can harmonize your mind and actions with your home's Feng Shui to create chi that's strong, free-flowing, and that helps you grow and advance. That's what we're talking about here. So let's talk about some personal chi energizers. First, we're going to talk about is something that you hear a lot about in black hat Feng Shui is intention. And I think that's really important. And it's not something I spend just a whole lot of time on, because I think intention is very, very important, but it's not all. It is just another slice of the Feng Shui pie. That's important. But when it comes to chi traps, intention is the way of saying awareness, in my opinion. So that creating an intention to solve a problem is a key part of getting past it, because once you create that intention, that means you are aware of it. And there's a famous quote. The man says to Buddha, "Are you God?" And he says, "No, I am awake." Once we become awake to our complaining, our desperation, some of those chi traps that we have, this helps free us from it. Now, your intention has to be that you're going to resolve any issue, irrespective of how you will accomplish it. this is what's so important. A lot of times it's critical to get that helping energy flow in a way that helps you create situations to bring opportunity that get you out of the circumstances that make you unhappy. But what often happens is that we get stuck in the how of getting out of that situation. And that's what keeps you stuck in the situation. So maybe you can't see how you're going to change it, or it's not obvious. So it creates doubt in your mind. And when there's doubt, there's desperation. So you've got to trust that you're going to make a change, and that energy will move the way you need to bring the solutions to you, even when you don't know how it will happen or what those solutions look like. I can tell you, if you just set that intention, I'm going to do it. I'm going to keep looking. Maybe I don't know what I'm looking for, but I trust that I will find it. It will find me. Because once you have created that shift, that I will do this, this is going to happen, that it's amazing how energy changes for you. So this brings us to an important aspect in your personal chi traps, and getting out of it is decision making and claiming. There are times when you just have to decide, or you have to claim for yourself that things will change. And it's usually not a claim you can make for yourself, but it's for the circumstances that you find yourself in. Sometimes, time and time again. It may be that you have to decide that no matter how it is that you've gotten yourself to where you are or the situation that you're in, that you've decided you've had enough and you are ready to claim a different way of being and acting. I'll give you a good example. There was one time when Tim and I were flipping houses before it was called flipping houses. And we had flipped a house and we moved to a larger one and an older one. And if you've ever worked on a larger, older home, it comes with larger, bigger problems. It's not just repainting and adding new carpet, that kind of thing. It is, oh gosh, walls full of mice or dead mice or whatever, and, old pipes that just who knows where they went, and leaks from the roof that who knows where they came from. We had a leak in one part of the house that originated in a completely different one. And when we moved to this house and I started uncovering some of this, I became sick. I had a cough I couldn't get over. I had this chest infection thing that just kind of lingered, and it was going on and on. All the while I'm surrounded by this house that is just everywhere you look, everything needed to be repaired. And I think in my mind, I recognized that I bit off a little bit more than I wanted to chew, and I got overwhelmed by it. Frankly, that's what happened. And I looked around, and finally one day I got tired of hearing myself coughing and feeling bad and moping, that I just, pounded my fists on the kitchen counter and said, "That's enough. I've had it. I'm going to be well and get started on this. I don't care if I'm going to cough. I'm going to take down these old drapes. I'm going to pull up this nasty carpet, and I'm going to get going on it." And then next thing you know, we have a beautiful home, and all the repairs were made. And that is what happened. And sometimes what I find that is, once a situation becomes to a point where it's just no longer bearable, that either you go deeper into it, or you finally have enough and you claim, you plant your stake in the ground. I am doing this. And this is what I'm talking about when I talk about decision making and claiming in particular, that you claim, I am no longer doing this. I am finding my way out. Maybe it'll be a pebble by pebble, but I am going to just do a little thing one at a time, every day, consistently, whatever it is. And I will get this done. And then you start working on it. Just like I said, pebble by pebble, if that's what you need to do. But that claiming effect is so important. Plant your stake in the ground. I think there was a movie, Far and Away, with Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise from way, way back. And they called the Oklahoma Sooners. They were Irish, an Irish couple coming out to Oklahoma to make a land stake or a land claim. And they had to run with their wagons and their horses to stake their land. And once they put their flag in the ground, that land became theirs. And we have to plant our flag. There is an emotional thing about planting your flag. It's a good movie anyway. if you like that kind of thing. Now, let's talk about being neutral. One of the ways that I had talked about on the first Chi Trap podcast was about how when you're really negative, sometimes just go neutral. And you don't have to say more negative stuff. You don't have to believe pie in the sky, kind of optimistic, over optimism, that kind of thing, Pollyanna kind of stuff. You just be neutral, non-judgmental, either positive or negative. And if you can go neutral when circumstances are difficult and avoid complaining about it or ruminating or worrying, this will help dispel despair. It's amazing how you can change from neutral to go positive. You have to have an interrupt of energy. And when you're very negative and you have a lot of negative emotions swallowing you up, this is when you've got to go neutral. And instead, put your mental focus and self-talk firmly on the steps that you're taking and the outcome you desire, and by giving yourself non-judgment. This is the one person in your life that needs the non-judgment more than anybody else. It's yourself. And who's the person in your life you're the most judgmental of? Well, we all are. On ourselves. It's you. You go too hard on yourself. We all do. And this is something most people share. So if you are finding yourself, swallowed up in negative self-talk, go neutral. Go neutral, because then you can go into a new gear that goes forward. If you can get yourself to neutral, then you can get yourself to positive again. Now let's talk about using the power of one. I am such a firm believer in the power of one. I know I talked about this on a podcast a few weeks ago. I think it was 3 weeks, 4 weeks, something like that. So it's been a whole mental aspect of the 5-minute feng shui here in the last month. And it's so important right now. We really need it. And I feel like this is part of your feng shui that we kind of ignore, and we want to do other things around in the house. But how we go about handling problems, how we go about our thinking also makes a big difference too. And let's talk about the power of one, because one is a very important number in feng shui. 1 and 9. These are the two numbers. It's 1 is water, 9 is fire. 1 is the number of water, and water has the power to transform. If a flood comes through, it can wipe everything clean, just like a fire can. But water is transformative in a positive way. I mean, they both are transformative, in both elements are transformative, but power of one puts that water energy behind you. It means taking a single step or an action and committing to it. It's so powerful. Many times when we have a problem, there's really only one right solution, and we usually know what that is. It's pretty much like packing up and moving that big china cabinet that I talked about last week before I sold my house. You know in your heart what the answer is and what the step is that you need to take. Now just take that one step. I promise you, if you can use the power of one, just do that one thing that you know you need to do, and it's amazing what can happen when you take it. All right, let's talk about it's you, not me. When the problem is always outside of you, the solution is too. Why do the same things keep happening to me? Well, it's because I choose to see the problem, and oftentimes all problems, as outside of myself. The truth of the matter is we have to be our own solutions in every circumstance. That may mean changing our thinking, our reactions, and our responses, but when you apply your mind and your thought, you change your chi. But your thinking has to be accompanied by your actions. So you can't just think your way out of problems. You have to act your way out of them. Now let's talk about confidence versus courage. It's so important that you believe in yourself. Doing that requires, though, that you take action on your own behalf. You may even stop yourself from taking action because you don't maybe have confidence. You may believe that you can't take certain steps or be a certain way or take action until you have confidence. It's something that I have worked with. I can't tell you how many people I have tried to work with their understanding that it's not confidence. You don't get it. It doesn't show up in the mail. Amazon doesn't deliver it. FedEx isn't going to ring the doorbell and drop a box of confidence off at your house. You just can't do it. You may wait for confidence like a city bus to show up, but before you act. But real truth is what you lack isn't confidence, it's courage. Having courage is to take action on your own behalf, and you build your confidence from that action. Confidence is something that's cultivated, not given, bestowed, or inherited. I want you to understand that. Trust me, you aren't lacking in confidence. It's courage. So be sure to take those steps. Take those, whether you believe in them, whether you feel like an imposter, whether you think you're going to look stupid, whether you think someone's going to say what you're doing is dumb, it doesn't matter. This is something you have to do for yourself. And I hope that you will, because it's very important. Trust me, I heard it all. I started Feng Shui. I started a Feng Shui practice and consultation work from a cow pasture in South Texas. Where there's more cows than people, a lot more cows than people, and a lot more land than people. And what I found was everybody looked at me like I had said aliens had landed on top of my head when I told them I was a Feng Shui consultant in this little town in South Texas. And you know what? It didn't matter. I had confidence in Feng Shui. I had confidence in myself because I had courage, and I knew I could just put something out there, and I believed that it was important to me, and starting my business was important to me because I thought Feng Shui was such a great skill to know that I said, I think other people would like to hear about this skill too. And I put it out on the internet and started a newsletter, and here we are 20 years and 1,000 issues later. But trust me, I know what, having people discouraging you sounds like. I know what that looks like. I know what it feels like. But trust and believe in yourself. All right, let's talk about growth. Now, in Feng Shui, moving energy with Feng Shui is a great way to improve your life. But you can do this by applying Feng Shui to your home, office, and bedroom, but you have to do it for yourself as well. Maybe you've gotten into a pattern of oversleeping or overspending or other patterns of behavior that are self-defeating. And one quick way to shake up your energy is to change your look. So look at what you can do to grow and apply that energy shift to your look and the way that you go about your life. It's amazing how making a shift in your patterns can make a difference in the way you see yourself. So for instance, if you get up every day, or you're getting up later and later every day, or you're doing things that aren't helping you get ahead, maybe you got to do a pattern interrupt. I'm a big believer that the patterns oftentimes are the things that set us up for failure, and we have to have growth in our lives. So that means you've got to have an energy interrupt in that pattern. So start by maybe getting up earlier, or instead of getting up and having coffee right away, maybe you meditate. Find some way, whatever that way is, and you know what way it is, that's going to help you do a pattern interrupt. And this is amazing how it can shape you and how it can create growth in your life. So move that energy in your life. Now let's talk about how you can shake up your energy with your look. Now, if you don't like what you're seeing in the mirror, change it. Part your hair a different way, wear a different color. If you're wearing black all the time, try red. Maybe try green, try bright colors, try white. If you're wearing black all the time, try white. Go the opposite. That was a great episode on Seinfeld. One episode was about George Costanza and how he said, if my absolute thought and action, every action that I do turns out wrong, then if I do the thing that I would never ever do, and I tried that, maybe it would work out for me. And he started doing absolutely everything that he would never, ever do. And it actually started working out for him. A great example was he saw this pretty woman at a diner, and he tells Jerry, he goes, look at that woman. If I would go up and say I was an architect, or make up some kind of a lie and tell her how great I was and I had plenty of money and this and that. And the truth is, I don't want to tell her, hey, I'm a bald, fat guy who lives with his parents and I have no job. And would you go out with me? I would never ever say that, because she would never ever go out with me. And Jerry said, well, if your inclination is to do something that is a lie, maybe try doing something you would never ever do and see if it changes. So he goes up, he goes, hey, I'm a short, fat, bald guy who lives with his parents and I have no job or prospects for one. He said, would you go out with me? And she goes, sure. because it's truthful. And so sometimes we got to go out and do something that we would never ever do. And it's amazing how it can shake up our energy. And shaking up your look by maybe polishing your image, maybe dressing up a little bit more. Instead of wearing shorts all the time, put on jeans or put on a dress. It's amazing when you see yourself differently in the mirror. Things can change in your life. In order to see our life differently, we have to see us differently. Let's talk about a new image for yourself. What is the image that you have of yourself? Do you have a picture of yourself that you think really represents who you really are inside? If not, find one that represents the ideal you and leave this image out where you can see it frequently. This can be an image that you aspire to or an image that gives you a certain feeling, which I absolutely love. I have an image of me when I was 25 that I just loved. I loved it when I took that picture or had that picture taken of me, and I love it to this day, and I keep it at my dressing table. And this is something that I see every day, and it reminds me who I feel like inside. But I have a new picture that I'd like to put up of myself, and it's a picture that was taken 3 years ago. You'll know it. It's the one on my website. But I have a picture of me taken from that photo shoot that day, and I'm standing with my hands on my hips, and I love that picture because it represents who I feel inside, the way I look. I love the way I'm dressed. I loved my style that day, and it makes such a difference in terms of when I look at that, who I see in that picture. And so I'm going to put that up on my desk. So it reminds me, and I see that woman, and it reminds me that I am that woman. Find a picture of yourself that you think is representative of your ideal you, so you can start not only seeing that person in the picture, but seeing it in your life. All right, well, here you go. We are at the end of another 5-minute feng shui. Let's just talk real quickly about 3 tips that I want to go over with you. Tip number 1, create awareness around the problem and create an intention to solve it. Make sure you don't get hung up on the how you're going to solve it, but just that you are, and then seek out ways. Maybe you don't know, but you're going to start looking for it. You're going to start investigating, maybe searching online or reading. Something will come to you. Don't get stuck on the how you're going to do it, how you're going to solve a problem or how you're going to create something. Just set the intention that you are, and most of the time, the how will solve itself. Tip number 2, stake your claim. There are times when you have to decide for yourself that things will change. Command that it will be done. Claim that you will do things for yourself and change those circumstances. You have to decide it. You have to make that claim and make your decision firm. Tip number 3, remember you are the solution to every problem and every circumstance. You are always the answer. Remember, we can't think our way out of problems. We have to act our way out of them, and we have to do it with courage. Remember that courage builds confidence. Hey, thanks for being on this episode of 5-Minute Feng Shui. I believe in you. I know you can do it. You have everything it takes. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you on the next episode of 5-Minute Feng Shui.